Hey guys, my name's Kai. I'm the founder of Newsies, an e-commerce SEO agency working exclusively with 7, 8, and 9-figure Shopify brands. And I want to tell you how we took this menswear brand in Australia from $87,000 a month to $116,000 a month in organic search revenue in just a couple months. So let's get into it. So we started working together in March of 2024, so just about 8 or 9 months ago now. Just under $87,000 a month in SEO revenue when we started, up to $116,000 in September and continuing to climb. That's an extra $29,000 a month strictly from SEO. They also now rank in the #1 spot on Google in Australia for ties, cufflinks, men's ties, pocket squares, lapel pins, bow ties, and dozens of other money keywords, which I'll show you and how we did it. Here's the organic search revenue kind of growth chart over the last few months, right? You can see it obviously peaking in September, back in October and November, similar numbers, and we're expecting even bigger numbers, obviously, through Black Friday with such a huge SEO presence now. Here's the keyword rankings as of late. #1 for tie, cufflinks, bow tie snake, cufflinks, pocket square, men's ties, bow tie snake again, black tie dress code for men, square pocket square, right? You can see the search funnel on these is pretty crazy. They're in the #1 spot. These are pretty competitive keywords in Australia. They're a bit more competitive in the US, and we are closing the gap on them quickly. I expect it to probably happen early next year. Here's an interview with the brand's founder I did a little about a month ago. So definitely go check that out. Talks about our process, kind of how we work together, how he's finding it, the results and everything so far. So definitely go check that out. Now let's get into the strategy. This brand does between like $250,000, $500,000 a month. I would say about that size for brands kind of just getting into like an SEO agency, more like consistent SEO process. Just like this brand, you had probably gone through a handful of freelancers. They used 4 over the course of the last couple of years to help them grow. 2 of them were good, 2 of them not so good. The 2 that were not so good, which unfortunately is all too common, technical SEO freelancers. In my experience for brands with smaller product catalogs or even brands kind of this size, technical SEOs are rarely worth the price you pay for them. I think it's a very easy way to kind of waste a lot of money when you think you're getting a lot of value and you're really not. They don't add revenue. They don't have any attributable revenue they can add $1 to, at least not these 2. They fix extremely kind of benign minor issues that really don't matter in the scheme of things. Like I said, this brand spent about 4,000 AUD on technical SEOs, not a single attributable dollar in revenue, barely an increase in traffic after paying them all this money, okay? Not to mention, when I actually got to work on the site, or our team got to work on the site rather, there were still tons of issues like broken links and duplicate product URLs that the technical SEOs never took care of. Duplicate product URLs is the most widely known technical SEO issue in Shopify. Every Shopify store has it out of the box, so it's pretty annoying that wasn't even addressed after the money invested in the technical SEO. Our audit took literally 2 hours. Implementation from our developer took 1 hour. Technical SEO was over and done within 3 hours, which meant it was time to make some actual changes and some real money. Brand's primary product category has been ties. They sell a lot of cool ones. A lot of famous people have worn them, mostly in Australia, but they've expanded the US for the last 12 to 18 months, and we're helping them do that with SEO. Their organic presence has increased tremendously in the US's Google organic results. So looking forward to see what that looks like early next year. I would say for sure, out of all the things we've done, the biggest unlock we had was our collection optimization workflow. Here's basically how it works at a high level. Analyze the performance of each collection page in Search Console, essentially working from the top down in terms of ones we thought had the biggest potential to make them a ton of money. Second, determine the underutilized, underserved queries and keywords. Step 3, update the collection page to serve these exact keywords. So literally rerunning the collection page to include this Search Console data we were looking at. And step 4, literally rank higher. We run this exact workflow, playbook, whatever you want to call it, for every single brand we work with on their collection pages and many times on their product pages as well. It really just depends on the brand's kind of product catalog and setup. I would say minimum, we're seeing jumps of 2 to 3 spots within 1 to 2 weeks of implementing the new copy on the collection or product page. After doing it for this brand, we moved the following keywords into the #1 spot within a matter of weeks after previously not being on page 1 at all. So we jumped well more than 2 or 3 spots. Like I said, previously not ranking, currently #1 spot for all these keywords with tons of traffic added and obviously tons of revenue that translates. Again, search volume here, pretty competitive for Australia, honestly, but made it work with that playbook. Like I said, I believe this is the biggest value add in terms of getting that extra 29,000 into their business, 20,000 a month into their business from SEO, but there's still a lot more value to add. They'd used a few VAs and AI content to write couple hundred blogs. I think it was 200 over the last 15 to 16 months. Honestly, this was more valuable than what the technical SEO freelancers had done. Truthfully, I'd say 95% of the blogs were 70 to 80% of the way done. They were long. They were really written by AI. They'd done some editing. They'd done some internal linking, but hadn't really maximized all of the value. So I looked through all the blogs like in Search Console, and I read through a good amount of them and pretty much found a few gems that I felt were relatively untapped. And by that, I mean they had super high search volume, so if we could get in the number one spot, they were going to explode our traffic. Also, based on the keywords they were targeting, I felt like the competition was pretty weak. So a bit of updating could easily vault us in the number 1-2 spot, and we could kind of unlock this like static kind of plateau of organic traffic they'd been in for so long. Like I said, the VAs and like the work they did was 70 to 80% of the legwork. We just extracted out the last like 20 to 30%, which is when things really took off. Updating is so kind of subjective and relative to the blog, each individual blog, but adding more value. Sometimes it was cutting links, sometimes it was subtracting some sections, sometimes it was going a bit deeper on certain sections, whatever that may have included. Tweaking the intro paragraph, this is one thing that I think gets overlooked way too much. Restructuring sections, so moving them around, condensing them, expanding them, whatever, maybe moving it from paragraph to bullet form or into a table or whatever. And obviously, as always, a ton of internal links, like an army of them. Since their blog traffic has exploded from 15,000 organic visits a month to well over 30,000 a month and climbing. So pretty much doubled it in, 7 or 8 months. So pretty insane there. And some of these blogs, just like their collection pages I already ran through, ranked number 1 for some pretty high traffic keywords. How to tie a tie bar, dinner suit with a cummerbund, how to wear a tie bar, costliest wristwatch in the world, how to make butterfly tie, how to dress like an older Italian man, what are cufflinks, best tie knot, and tons of others. Okay, you can see they hold 18,500 organic search positions. I think it's like 2,000 or 3,000 of them are on page 1. So pretty good. Again, super high volume here, tons of added traffic, which is great. I think updating content is one of the most common things missed by agencies, or even like any SEO that comes in to work with a brand or a SaaS or whatever. They just want to start creating, new stuff because they think that's the quickest way to add value. And honestly, it's definitely a little bit easier to create new content because agencies or freelancers or whatever have their own system for creating new content. However, as I said, at this point, we haven't written any new content. I think we've honestly created 5 to 10 new blog posts in the span of 8 months. Everything else has just been maximizing what was already on the site. A lot of agencies skip over it because there's not a defined workflow or SOP for updating content because every single page is going to look different. I would rather update content because we can get faster wins that way. I already told you in a matter of weeks we're in the number 1 spot. That would be way easier than trying to do something else. If a brand has created, if your brand, for example, has created 10 or 20 blogs, it's much easier for us to maximize the value of these articles as opposed to writing new ones. I think a lot of agencies caught up in it also with just shipping a new brand or client off to an account manager. Account manager just starts generating, content topics, and they don't even stop to consider what's already on the site. And oftentimes there's a lot of overlap, which creates duplicate content. So while the updating content may be a little bit less defined in the process, if you can get through and actually be diligent about each update, there is far more value to add as opposed to creating new content from scratch. That's the way we approach it. Always updating first and then starting to create new stuff only after we've exhausted all of the value on the existing stuff. Off page, so link building, you have to be doing link building. There's no question around it, especially now with the new AI overviews and everything. There's so fewer spots on the page 1 of Google. You really have to be in the top 3 to be making any kind of money. And if you're not, tough luck. Using a mix of backlink building for this brand, as we do with all brands, I'd say for this brand and honestly probably most of the other brands we work with, the biggest unlock in the last 6 to 8 months for us has been both reactive PR and link insertions. We're using Harrow, SourceBottle, quoted type platforms. Obviously Harrow's now been kind of rendered defunct, but the other ones are still, working pretty well. Landing about 2 to 3 each month on some super high power domains, usually on average by DR 60, 70 plus. Got some good ones on American Express, Yahoo Finance, Yahoo Health, co-banking rates, things like that. In conjunction with about 5 to 10 link insertions per month as well. I am super pro link insertion on most sites. The reason or the way we build link insertions, they have to be on a relevant domain. So the site we're linking from has to be relevant to the brand. That domain has to have traffic, and almost, I'd say most importantly, that page we're building a link insertion on also has to have traffic. If it doesn't satisfy all these conditions, we don't build it. Simple as that, right? Yes, this cuts out a lot of links. However, it enables us to build much higher quality links on average over a long time frame, right? Again, similar to just creating new blog content, I think a lot of agencies and freelancers just get caught up in building guest posts because honestly, it's easier. It's less operationally intensive to write a guest post, pay the fee, and be done with it than it is to find a page with traffic, make sure it's all relevant and everything, suggest a link insertion, and then get it built. There's more moving parts. It's a lot more analysis required on the front end, but the hard work is worth it because compared to link insertions, guest posts are usually 20 to 40% more expensive in my experience. So if your budget is, let's say you have $1,000 budget for links or whatever, you're forced to build fewer links to stay in budget over a time frame where like you could build far more link insertions on the same budget. Guest posts take hours to write. Even if using AI, it'll probably take you an hour to make sure you hit like brand tone with that other site. So not to mention within that budget, if you have to add in the cost of labor in addition to the cost of a link, now you're building even fewer guest posts, right? A link insertion is like 1 or 2 sentences. Far less writing. It takes literally minutes to write, seconds more accurately. And the other like big glaring issue with guest posts is they rarely get internal links or cross promotion. If you spend time writing an article, post on another website, pay the fee, in your head you're like, cool, I paid $200-300 whatever for a guest post. If there's no internal links or cross promotion, that article that you just spent time and money on will probably never get any traffic or really see the light of day. And with indexing becoming so difficult in Google lately, there's a good chance it won't even get indexed, meaning your guest post that you spent time and money on is entirely worthless to you. It is a vanity backlink at best. Whereas a link insertion, if you're finding a page on a domain that is traffic, but specifically the page has traffic, it's being indexed and it has value. So you can assign value to it at the moment you actually add the link, as opposed to kind of wondering if it's up in the air with a guest post. Link insertions, harder to find, a little bit more like operation intensive to build at scale, but immensely more valuable, which is why we build them. To recap, this brand worked with a few freelancers over the years. They got them a little bit of growth, I'd say collectively, but the brand was primarily relying on their, paid meta and organic social, like organic meta and, every other organic social media channel to grow. As they grew bigger, more people searched for them, which means they had a super high branded search, which made it a little bit easier for us to like get things moving. Brands whose customers search for them on Google, hundreds or thousands of times a month, SEO will work for you much faster than a brand with a very small organic social or paid social presence. Not to mention like the freelancers they paid, most of the traffic was relying on blog traffic, which is not why they're making money. Or they were not making money from those. When we came in, it was a big focus on products and collections because that is where the money is made in e-commerce. Like I said, if you're not in the top 3 spots of those, you're probably not making enough revenue to continue investing in it over time. So next steps for Shopify brands doing $1 million a year in revenue or more, and you want fully done for you SEO at scale, just like this brand and results like this brand, book a discovery call with me below, and I'll chat to you soon. Peace.